Hey everyone, it's WorldFilmGeek here, and I'm interviewed Jamison LoCascio and Adam Ambrosio. They're the duo behind No Fear, the new horror film that's currently available on digital platforms, Amazon Prime and Tubi and YouTube. Enjoy the interview.
Speak to you.
Are we coming clear through the audio and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I think we're good to. We're about good to go.
Okay, great.
Awesome. So I just literally watched No Fear this morning, and I loved it. It was one of those slow burn horror films that really gave it its all in the finale, and I love those type of movies. And you guys did a good job on it.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very
We
much.
appreciate it. Certainly
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a hard process making it. So we love when anyone just has a good time, or
Yeah.
if someone says they loved it, that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just made me want to keep going. Like, what's next? What's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? What's gonna happen next? And
Great. Yeah, awesome. We're happy to hear that.
Yeah, very.
so how did the project come about? What were your influences in making this film?
You want to tell them about the crazy?
Oh yeah.
How we
So
started off.
a few years ago, James and I we went to the movies to see a horror movie, which we probably shouldn't name just for the sake of the story. And we came out of the movies and we just had a violent reaction to the movie. We just did not like it at all. And we did two other features before this, so we were already working. And he turned to me and he said, "Adam, look, if this is what horror movies are about or the direction they're going, I don't really want to be a part of it. I don't want to have anything to do with it."
Mhm.
And by then we were already working together for like 8 years, 9 years or so. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I'm here with my friend. We created a business and he's telling me that he doesn't want to make a single horror movie. I said, if I have to work with this guy, I'm going to go crazy in my whole life. I'm never going to get to do one. So what happened was I introduced James into some of the classic horror movies to start off with because I wanted to break him into it. We started pretty much with John Carpenter. I think that was for me my biggest horror influence, and so we started with Halloween, The Thing, in the Mouth of Madness, Prince of Darkness. Then we went to some Clyde Barker. What else? Evil Dead. I mean,
Yeah.
James really loves Evil Dead. I mean,
Forget
forget it. I mean, I got the
Game
action
over.
figure over here.
I do have the Ash Williams action figure staring us in the face right now.
So we started off with the movies that I grew up on when I was like 5 years old, and
Yeah, well, that's probably the most interesting thing about the process of making this movie was it was something that we came to there was a pureness to it because the fact that it was something I was dead set against. So the fact that he convinced me, suddenly it was like, you know what, I've fallen in love with this. It was like a strange relationship then with horror movies. So now I love them, and I absolutely love them, and I'm such a huge fan of them. But he really gave me in incredible ways. I'm always thinking about, because we've been talking to a lot of people lately, like how many different movies influenced this movie, and will continue to influence our work. I mean, Carpenter was huge, and so we're always talking about like things like that, even on these other projects we're working on and things like that. Always think about John Carpenter now as like a primary influence.
That's awesome. And I grew up watching different genres, but it was around my teenage years I really got into the horror films. And I will tell you guys, my all-time favorite is still the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Because it's not bloody. It's more, I thought more of a psychological film, like a psychological horror film. It really messes with your head, especially that finale, that one shot where they show Sally's eyeball up close. Like that just, to this day, that still like gets to me.
Yeah.
Well, especially with that, like Texas Chainsaw and like I would say House of a Thousand Corpses. Like I turned to my dad once, and he seen the original Texas Chainsaw. He liked it, but when he saw like House of a Thousand Corpses, he was really turned off to it. And I was like, "Dad, why do you not like this movie?" And he's like, "Because probably somewhere in this world there are people like that."
Mm-hmm.
And I figured, wow, like that's something kind of like really scary when you think about it. That and I think that's what attracts people is that these are not just especially these characters in No Fear and Texas Chainsaw and House of the Thousand Corpses, they're real people, or you could kind of relate to them a little bit more. They're not some person who's totally out of touch of the world, making millions of dollars, and then something happens to them. There is something relatable to them. So yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think that's what we kind of gravitated towards, especially with
Yeah.
these movies. A lot of the horror movies we watch have just normal people in them. They're nothing special. They're just
Yeah.
that moment in time. And I think that's what kind of,
we definitely looked at The Conjuring, and we
Yeah,
liked how,
Conjuring.
everybody in The Conjuring was a regular person. But then on top of that, the plot was really the primary, the plot and the action of the movie is really what's the focus. But when you have a bunch of people you care about in the room, it makes a huge difference. And we did see that in theaters prior. So that was like a good, like having this much knowledge about it, at least I saw how an audience responded to it. So that was easier to
Yeah.
build around. But yeah, Halloween was big because in a lot of ways, Halloween, like, basically puts a character to the idea of, like, the horror movie warning. It's like, you guys better not go down that road. That's
Right.
like Dr. Loomis is. Dr. Loomis is like the personification of that concept. So as soon as I saw Halloween, it's like the whole thing broke open for me. But it still helped to watch like the other 200 movies we watched, because then it was different. But it was amazing how Halloween was so informative in that sense. It was like, oh my God, Dr. Loomis made me get horror movies.
Yeah.
Like, completely. So we actually wound up naming all the characters in the movie after the main actors in Halloween. So Donald and Jamie and, all of them actually, really, except for Wendy, who we saw as being, she's always, in her separate space because of what happens to her. But yeah, so those influences were, directly injected into this.
That's awesome. So how long did it take you to write the script? Like, how did it go from, like, what inspired you to, like, I know you got the inspiration, but how did you guys get, like, pick the whole demonic entity as the basis of the film? What got you into that?
yeah, no, I think what we were into and still are very into is I think we want to take the Carpenter but also build some like Lovecraftian theme to it. And so we were working on that. We did research on things as like the Yellow King, just all these figures from H.P. Lovecraft, and try to build something our own. As Jameson said, Hellraiser was a big part, especially in the aesthetic, I'd say.
Yeah.
In terms of the demon. So we took a lot of that, and we wanted to do something that was Lovecraftian, but we wanted to do something that was really like ancient in the same point. Actually, to tell you the truth, a good friend of ours, and actually we would say our mentor, knew we were trying to come up with a concept for this demon and this, this realm he's in, and he gave us this great history book on Zoroastrianism. And Jameson could probably go more in depth about the whole force behind it, but we really gravitated to that. We literally opened up the book and blindly put our finger down on one section of the page and said, okay, whatever it is.
It was super creepy too,
Yeah.
because like they were like, okay, a horror movie concept from this, which like seemed ridiculous. But I swear, I just opened the page, put my finger down, and said, this is the creepiest thing I've ever read in a book about religion. It was really that creepy, and it was just basically, put into a nutshell, it was like, your loved one's going to stick around for a little while, for like 3 nights or something like that. And you know what? They're going to have to fight off some dark forces. And it's like, whoa, wait a second. That sounds crazy. So that kind of became like, let's talk about that for a little while. And that kind of became the basis of the beginnings of No Fear. And we were also sort of talking a bit about trying to play a game with the audience that would be fun, something to do with the senses. And, maybe if they make contact with each other, they can see it and things, weird stuff like that. And I think Adam really just blurted out, well, there's something to see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And that's when we said, you know what, let's just combine those ideas. What if basically these things were, this was all happening, but what's interesting or high concept about our movie is that they have to work together to fight it. And we thought that was really kind of visceral, and almost anyone can understand that, because it's in a lot of ways, it's about a family who can't communicate, who then, are put under the most pressure you can imagine to have to communicate. And there's something very human about that, as outlandishly crazy as it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the cast was excellent in this movie, hands down. I mean,
Thank
David as Donald was great. Amy Carlson, she really surprised me, and the scene with the meat really like shocked me. That's where it all started going for me. I'm like, she just like starts, and all of a sudden she's like freaking out. I'm like, whoa! And I like the fact that. Yeah, and I love the fact that you added a Mallory Bechtel's character. Kind of reminded me of Lin Shaye's Elise in the Insidious franchise. Like, She's like paranormal.
yeah.
I think that was a nice little touch to that, and I mean, it must have been great working on the set because these guys really gave it their all. I
Oh,
thought.
it was. I mean, besides, the typical stress of making a movie, they were great. The cast were great. And, we had to do really long nights. I mean, we probably started at what?
It was like 7 to maybe 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
We didn't do overnight
No.
completely because we were able to get away with it and it was winter.
Mhm.
But it was long. It
Yeah.
was still difficult.
It
And then they
was.
had to travel back to New York from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, they were great. And especially Mallory's character was actually based on, what's her name? From Hocus Pocus.
Yeah. We looked at
Oh,
a lot. Yeah.
yeah,
Danny, right?
Danny. From
Danny,
Hocus Pocus.
yeah.
Yeah, we definitely looked at the Danny, Max, and then what's her name
the
perspective, and then also we looked at that dynamic with the babysitter sort of thing, that
Yeah.
vibe. But then we looked at the little girl from The Crow, and we liked.
Sarah, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about her a lot, and we thought that there's really not any characters like her,
No.
beyond that point, and she was very unique, and she kind of had a '90s vibe, I guess, when you think about it. So we really were honed into that with our costume designer and said, let's give her a '90s vibe. Let's have her have strange, mismatches of things. And we kind of thought that would be fun as a character, for all, I guess for all genders, I guess you could say. But we thought that, maybe young women would relate to that. But also we just thought that character was really cool. And would be a different kind of take on usually somebody who's like old and wise. And, it's coming from this girl who's, makes some mistakes along the way. That's also the interesting thing.
Yeah.
And we also figured if we made her sort of an expert, once she gets in over her head, the audience is going to feel twice as frightened. Like, okay, if she doesn't have it, we definitely don't have it. So who has it?
Yep. What I really like is that each character, like the main five, as I call them, they had a different personality. I thought, and I think that's awesome. Like, Donald's the dominant, he's like, he wants to be like the father figure. Wendy's the one who's getting, while she's getting upset, she has that innocent look. As you said, Mallory's the 90s expert. Her brother's like the tough guy, he's got that angst in him. And then you got Wendy's assistant, Nancy, who's like the innocent, like kind of like the innocent, like she's just there. And I like that you brought that each one having their own personality to it, because I think that's what works out a lot better with these type of films.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we wanted to keep them just grounded, not too complex. We released the movie a few days ago, and a lot of comments that we're getting is that they like the characters. It doesn't take so long to get the exposition of who these characters are. So that's great. And as I said before, they, all the actors did a great job. I mean, they really pulled through.
Yeah, and we should definitely talk about our casting director. Judy Henderson is an Emmy Award-winning casting director. She cast the show Homeland, and right now she's doing City on the Hill, which is still shooting in coronavirus. So basically, she did a great cast for us, and she brought in these amazing people. And the fact that Mallory was in Hereditary was almost a coincidence, but. I mean, we worked really hard on the characters for a long time, and there was a certain point where we felt every one of them was sort of calibrated and interesting, or at least unique from our perspective. The last person that we worked on was Donald, and we said, he's interesting. Let's give him something else. And like, he wasn't really quite a science teacher, and we wanted him to be dorky, so we leaned in on that. And what's really weird and a little bit of a twist of fate is that this guy came up to me at a part-time job that we actually were both doing together and just gave me this great speech about the pale blue dot. And it was like the most incredible thing that ever happened in my life to like randomly have this guy do this, who was just somebody I was like, showing how to, working with at this place.
Yeah.
And it was so impactful that like a week and a half later, it like hit me suddenly. I'm like, wow, that guy said like the most profound thing a stranger has ever said to me in my life. And I said to him, we should put that in this film. And that should be like, how Donald is trying to reach across to Charlie, and like, how they start their communication. So Pale Blue Dot came into it, and it was almost verbatim like what that guy said to me. It was very sweet and very touching. And again, just a stranger.
That's awesome. I like when you use that real life experience and bring it with the characters. I saw that in Class of 1984, where a detective gives a little speech to the teacher about how kids get away with stuff, and it was revealed that he learned that from an actual police officer. He said those same exact words. So I love that little touch of that little nuance you put in there.
Yeah, there's
So,
nothing like real life and real circumstances and real things.
Yeah.
And the truth is that I think we were sort of obsessed with trying to mix the supernatural with something that was actually not even just scientific and cosmic to relate it to Lovecraft, but also something that was grounded in real. Because our favorite movies do that, they have that realness to them. And it's, it's a difficult balance because even something as simple, and actually I had a lot of conversations with the actors and sometimes it might have even been frustrating with them, is like maybe not to say the word demon so much because it's tough. Like you don't always land the word demon, like
Right.
as the demon outside. It's tough to balance that. And even with the best actors, it's difficult. So sometimes I'd be like, just don't say demon.
And you don't
I
wanna say,
can't
like,
deal with it.
alien.
Yeah, so sometimes they get frustrated with me, but there was a lot of times right out of where I'm like, you know what? Just don't say it there. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't even, it could sound false for a second. And like that takes the audience out. So there's a lot of times they refer to it without referring to it. And that would have been even in the script. So we were working on it sort of in the script phase still, even on set, trying to get it to sound more grounded, more realistic, and you just watch out for those words that pop out.
And I definitely think it worked. It truly worked. That's what I think anyway. In my opinion, it worked that way.
Thank you.
So how long did shooting take? And aside from the couple of long nights you had, were there any other difficulties that you faced during shooting?
Well, it was 18 days of all night shooting.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, I mean, that was the only thing, and it was cold. I mean, and
the house we were in was a little bananas for a couple different reasons.
Yeah, I think some people felt
uncomfortable.
I
Maybe
think
it was actually haunted.
well,
maybe
from what we talked to some of the crew, and some like some maybe camera boxes just randomly closed like really hard by themselves.
Yeah.
Others say they saw like chandeliers moving.
Mallory had headaches, but she said that was normal for her. But there was like a general like maybe bad energy there, and some of it was the stress of the movie, but some of it just seemed like induced by the house. And the woman who let us shoot there, God bless her, was with her and her very her mother, way older woman who should not have been moved out of her space, but they were nice enough to move out for 18 days, and it was really a blessing, and we have to thank them for that. And we really didn't move much of her stuff. I mean, we kind of kept everything intact. So even there's like a doll with its head off in the basement, which is not much of a spoiler because I think it's in the trailer. But that was really there. That was like not set up by us. Like that was just there already. So there's a lot of great stuff that we just, the wallpaper felt like 70s movie. Like it was,
Yeah, no, we walked in when we were doing the location scout. We were in there for like 2 minutes. We just looked around. We're like,
this is it.
This is the house.
It's perfect.
I just hope you didn't hear "Get Out." You didn't hear the voice as soon as you walked in there.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I mean, at the end of the day or whatever, or just being in that house, you did feel like something was amplifying, some stress or just some like
there was no Wi-Fi connection.
There was no Wi-Fi,
which is weird.
Wi-Fi would did it.
And it's a nice neighborhood. It's a nice house, but as soon as you get out of it,
in a nice town too.
Yeah,
so
you just feel like wow, like
you feel a little relieved.
Yeah,
like it's something strange about it.
So I don't know. Maybe it was haunted, and maybe it was just just making a film, or maybe it was a mixture of both. But
yeah, it was strange. It held some secrets we will never know, and I think the owners of that house.
Well, we couldn't go on the 3rd floor. That's all we.
Yeah, that was funny. That was like a running gag. They were like, "Don't go to the 3rd floor," and so everybody was the whole time was like, "I guess the bodies are up there right now," We didn't know what
the spirits.
Yeah, the spirits. So we didn't know what that meant. But the owners of that house are actually selling it, and I think it's sold. So
I could see why.
Yeah, so
that could be part of the arrangement. Hey, they shot a movie here. It's haunted.
Yeah, I don't even know if they told them. They're like,
that's how it usually starts. They don't tell them anything. That's how ours.
That's right. That's
like let them find out themselves.
That's No Fear 2 is the new owners of the house.
Exactly. It's bad real estate. That's what it is.
Hey, you got your sequel now.
There we go.
That's right.
So finally, like I said, this is a great movie, and it's great talking to you guys about this. But so finally, what's up? Do you have any upcoming projects that you can talk about?
Yeah, Jameson and I were working on a horror anthology, 4 different, short films, 20 minutes each, dealing with, different things. One's a war, one's more of a kind of sci-fi thriller.
Mhm.
Another is kind of Lovecraftian as well. And one's kind of what would you call it?
It's kind of a how would I explain this? It's a black and white sort of comedic 1960s take on a movie that's very popular, but it's been done as a slasher, and it does all the things that they couldn't do at that point, which is kind of very funny with it. So it's a cool idea, and yeah, that like the World War II, horror film is something we always wanted to do. So in this age of coronavirus, it's like, you know what, we've actually casted the movie already, and we have a budget. We have everything actually over pre-production started to go. Except some locations. Yeah, locations actually pretty much in general. That's the toughest thing for this movie. But if we can lock those down, we believe we can shoot it safely right now, because we're only going to have like the three actors at a time, and only shooting 2 days at a time. So it kind of gets us the ability to shoot something, stop, and do testing for the actors to make them feel more comfortable. So it's become a good model for us. And, these 4 stories kind of came out of nowheres, and some of them we've been working on for years. One of them, Adam just came up with randomly. Yeah. There was one that I just, there's something interesting about, doing maybe an alien investigation, type of project. So yeah, we've just been putting all that together, but we've actually had to put that all on hold for the minute because the press for No Fear has been crazy. And we've also gotten looks like over 100,000 views plus an opening weekend, on digitally through these various AVOD platforms. And there's a lot of viewership on Prime, and our actors have huge followings. So it's been good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's been great. Really blessed. Feel very blessed, especially in this time. It's a very difficult time.
Yeah.
So for those who want to see No Fear, where can they see it at the moment, since it's out right now?
They can check it out on Amazon Prime, which is actually available with your subscription. So you can click right on it and watch. If you don't have a subscription, you could rent it from Amazon straight up without having an account. You can also see it on Tubi. It's streaming there. And it's also streaming through these great YouTube channels called Kings of Horror. And then also Watch Movies Now, which is available just like with advertisements like television. You could sit there and watch the entire movie, leave a comment if you want, and join the fun there. There's a huge audience of people that are watching it. And like we said, that one video is almost up to 100,000 itself right now as we speak. So there's a lot of people that have already seen this movie. And for a low budget film, that's wild.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is very impressive. And yeah, I think everyone should check this movie out. Anyone who loves horror definitely needs to see this one. And Jamison and Adam, you guys are awesome, man. It's great talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, when you get this anthology made, I definitely want to talk to you guys again. Because
let's do it, man. Awesome. Stay in contact.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so you guys take care and you guys stay safe.
Thank you. You too. Thanks so much.
All right, take care.
Take care.
All right, bye.